So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us today for Don't Wait on the Data Warehouse. We're going to talk about how data science is transforming and accelerating innovation in the asset management world. I'm Pete Olympio. I'm the head of marketing for Reset. I'll be hosting everything today. I'll be introducing Anthony and Manisha, taking questions for them after the session. So feel free to send any questions you may have into the Q&A. There's also this thing where you can, if you see a question you like, you can vote it up and make it more visible. You can comment anonymously if you're so inclined. In any event, we'd love to hear from you. So don't be shy about that. First of all, we have Anthony Whitford. He's the Managing Director of Data and Enabling Technologies at Olmsted Associates. He has spent decades helping investment firms tackle data challenges with modern technology. For those not familiar with Olmsted, they specialize in consulting services specifically for the asset management industry. Similarly, Manisha Pramaratne is our head of product and AI at Asset. We're also exclusively serving the asset management industry. His expertise covers everything from ETL processes to natural language processing, and he brings a unique perspective thanks to his background in quantitative finance. He's dedicated to helping asset managers use data in smarter, more impactful ways. And it's actually funny here. I have a note in my little script here saying how he's just finishing up his CFA, but he has finished it today. So congrats to Manisha. He is officially a CFA. So well done there. Today's goal is pretty simple. We want to have a conversation about the role of data at investment firms. What are the common pitfalls? How can firms use data to deliver the personalization and transparency that clients have come to expect? And how can we make data work for everyone, not just the IT team? Again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to send them to me. I'll be keeping track of those throughout today's discussion. And without further ado, Anthony, why don't you hop in?
All right, thank you, Pete. Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony Whitford. I run the data and technology practice at Olmsted. Olmsted is a consulting firm that specializes in the investment management industry. Our consultants all come from the investment management industry, so we have deep domain expertise. My team consists of architects, engineers, and analysts that deliver strategy and implementation projects. We are an Asset partner, and we have Asset certified experts. Thank you for joining us today. This topic is near and dear to me as I focus on helping firms mature their data practices. We continue to see immense opportunities for improvements around marketing, sales, and client service activities. I'm going to talk about trends and opportunities in our industry. It's no secret that clients and prospects have higher expectations today than they did 10 years ago. The internet generation is used to getting answers at the push of a button. Clients have expectations that their data is instantly available, often from their mobile phone. They want personalized information. They often want more current information, like daily rather than monthly or quarterly. They like to be able to slice and dice and interrogate their information on their own, 24/7. Digital engagement is increasing. And that's actually exciting for firms too, because digital engagement can provide signals for marketing, sales, and client service. So how do firms meet this challenge? Pete? Thank you.
I got you.
Firms are investing in strategic data initiatives. At the heart of these initiatives is often a data platform, such as a data warehouse, data lake, or data lakehouse. Firms have recognized the nature of data management and are investing accordingly. We also see the adoption of data governance programs, which is critical for ensuring that data is accessible, trustworthy, and reusable. This is all really great for our industry. And if you haven't invested in these areas, it's never too late, but you are likely falling behind your peers. Or you can pat yourself on the back if you're 3 years into your 3-year roadmap. Marketing, sales, and client service tend to be last on the enterprise data transformation roadmaps. Firms tend to focus on portfolio management and operations first. This leaves marketing, sales, and client service waiting, but they have needs too. They also need to adapt to business changes, such as increased adoption of private and alternative assets. Data isn't just vital for the portfolio team, it's equally essential for marketing, sales, and client service success. And these areas are growth engines. Ironically, marketing and sales have been making investments too. The drive for digital engagement have led firms to invest in marketing automation, sales enablement, client portals, data packs, and other point solutions. Unfortunately, a tactical approach has resulted in information silos, complexity, and interfered with reusability. ROI on these investments have been muted because there was a lack of strategy. Olmsted advocates that what we call a distribution architecture, which is basically creating a strategic environment that breaks down data silos and can combine information from across different systems. The value of information is greater when you can create holistic views that combine data from various silos. Firms often desire a unified approach between marketing, sales, and client service. Marketing materials, sales presentations, and client reporting, for example, have a lot in common. Ideally, you want to build reusable assets in one technology that provides flexibility for many use cases. Some of the changes or disruptors in our industry, at the top of the list is business users are increasingly tech savvy. Users today know what a database is. Many recent graduates know how to program. After all, they grew up in the internet generation. And leading firms are leveraging this. They are empowering business users by giving them data and tools and letting them self-service and innovate. IT bottlenecks, they're real. There will be things that business users can just do on their own. And firms are making more capabilities available so that business users can do more without waiting on IT. Our advice is aim to maximize that. AI offers superpowers, whether it is summarizing a large document, producing content, or writing code. There is a growing opportunity for AI and a challenge to rethink workflows to take full advantage of it. Industry leaders are learning how best to use it and what guardrails need to be in place. Most vendors are trying to add AI and figure out how to leverage it. For example, Asset is working on a ChatGPT style interface called Ask Asset. Related is the growing popularity of the Python programming language. Its open source libraries for data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning have breathed new life into an old language. IT departments need to pick their battles and minimize the impact of IT bottlenecks. Responsibilities are growing faster than budgets and headcount. As a result, buying, renting, and outsourcing, particularly SaaS, is winning over building. Firms are increasingly judicious about spending IT dollars. Building solutions are limited to differentiators to curb technical debt. Overall, the responsibility lines are moving and getting blurry. We believe that a strategic data platform can be the single best investment in enabling your business when done right. We've seen dramatic benefits it can have on a firm, particularly with agility and innovation. And we're excited by the available data platforms and capabilities that exist today. Implementing an enterprise data platform doesn't happen overnight. When we do these implementations, we strive to deliver business value regularly along the way so you don't have to wait until the end to get benefits. But you do inevitably need to prioritize to avoid boiling the ocean. Meanwhile, your marketing, sales, and client service folks have problems to solve, like new marketing automations, sales reports, or a client portal. But when marketing, sales, and client service are near the end of a multi-year enterprise data transformation initiative, you simply cannot wait. You shouldn't wait. You need to be pragmatic. Work with what you have. Make progress. Don't wait for perfection. In other words, waiting to quote unquote do it right is unacceptable, particularly when you're trying to compete and grow your business. Don't be afraid to take a temporary shortcut to hit a deadline. There can be benefits to delivering something quickly. It can serve as a prototype, for example. And you can always go back and do it, quote unquote, the right way. Having flexible tools that can adapt to a variety of situations and can evolve with your data maturity is valuable. For example, we like the fact that some tools like Asset can leverage your data no matter where you are on your data journey. If you have a complete data warehouse, great, use it. But if you don't, point it at the data that you do have. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of similarities between marketing, sales, and client service content. Building reusable data and reusable components leads to consistency and a faster time to market. One feature that I really like about Asset is how it makes a distinction between development versus authoring. IT and data folks can use the development features to build reusable data blocks and data objects. Then business users use authoring features to assemble those components to make reports. This epitomizes the idea of trying to limit dependency on IT bottlenecks, and it fosters an environment where marketing, sales, and client service solutions are using a unified approach. Another thing that we like to see is leveraging popular technology. Data blocks, for example, are written using Python, which is extremely popular, as I mentioned, particularly in data science. In fact, it's often the first programming language taught in schools now, and if you need help writing it, ChatGPT can be an excellent companion. We like that the possibilities with Python are practically limitless. And also, how a set uses Office is another advantage. When a solution uses a proprietary reporting solution, it's often going to be difficult to find talent that knows that proprietary tool. But with Microsoft Office, there are plenty of resources to learn. Those skills are readily available. And really, it's the primary document sharing platform for our industry. In summary, do invest in a strategic data initiative. We really think that's wise, but don't be afraid to be pragmatic to get stuff done. Nobody wants to do a data program for data's sake. It's really all about delivering business value. Use flexible tools and empower your business users. Back to you, Pete.
All right, thank you, Anthony. That was awesome. I appreciate that. Just a quick reminder to our audience, if you have any questions for Anthony or Manisha, you can drop them in the Q&A below. If we don't get to them today, I'll make sure that we send around answers along with this recording after we wrap things up today. Before Manisha takes over, I wanted to just give a quick intro to Asset in case you're new to us. I am just the marketing guy. I don't want to get too into why, it could get too into a sales pitch here, but I do want to share why data is such a big deal to us. If you've been wondering why a content automation platform is so interested in data, it's because it's central to why Asset does something that nobody else can seem to pull off. Our data engine acts as a bridge between your data sources and the tools you use to create client-facing content. It uses data science principles to clean, transform, and calculate the information you need, ensuring you're always working with accurate, actionable data. With that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Manisha, who will do a deeper dive into how a client of ours is putting these principles into action using Asset. Manisha, it's all yours.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Anthony. That was a great presentation. Within the next few slides, I'm presenting a case study where one of our clients managed to automate their first few contents out of asset within a period of 3 months. The client was a $70 billion AUM investment firm. As usual, the requirement was to automate their fact sheets along with some other sales materials such as pitch books and client presentations. The challenges that the client faced at the time were very typical with any other asset manager. The process was very labor intensive. The team relied on manual workflows to aggregate, verify, and format the data. And this resulted in some inaccuracies and making mistakes when it comes to transforming the data and getting that content out to the public. That caused significant time delays when it comes to getting content out. But in addition to that, when the number of clients increased and when the investment products increased further, they did not have the resources to manually develop all the content in a timely manner. In addition to the above, another challenge was making sure that the content has some version control and making sure the content is actually up to the standards expected from a compliance team. And of course, it should be in line with any of the regulatory conditions that are out there. So to overcome all the challenges that I mentioned, our assets platform can help our clients automate the creation of their content. Our implementation philosophy is to prioritize fastest time to value. Start by automating the highest impact reports that deliver immediate benefits to sales or the client services teams. For example, focus on automating a single output instead of focusing on the entire content that you would like to be automated via asset. For example, focus on automating a fact sheet or a fact sheet related to a specific strategy or a specific asset class without focusing on the entire plethora of output that you might want to get automated immediately. Having that focus allows your sales teams or even the client service teams to get immediate value from our platform. And it allows them to cut down on their labor-intensive processes and focus more on the value-adding components in their day-to-day activities. The other advantage of using Asset is the flexible data integration. Our developer center, where we house the data blocks, allows the users to connect to typical data sources such as Snowflake, MS SQL databases, and APIs, etc. And it also allows you to upload your Excel files or CSV files and then use the same content and merge it with the data that it might be coming from other sources to create a report that you can automate and send it out. In addition to this interfacing capabilities, as Anthony mentioned, we do have the data blocks where you write Python scripts, and it allows you to merge the data sets and transform, do calculations, and you can use any of the popular open source packages that are available in Python to transform data and make use of our automation capabilities. So with this implementation philosophy in mind, our client actually managed to focus on a very specific area of content that they needed to automate and managed to get the first phase completed within 3 months. The client had SQL views, which was the main data source. But in addition to that, they also had a few Excel files. And they also wanted to make sure that they get some of the qualitative content like personnel information included within their fact sheets. So towards that end, our developer center was able to interface with their SQL views and get the metadata and also the accounting data out. But Some of the data, as usual, was maintained in CSV and Excel files, which we assisted their team with automating the upload processes and then connecting it up with the reports so that a comprehensive output can be constructed. In addition to that, Asset also maintains a qualitative database. We house personnel information, firm information, and strategy information in our database. For this particular case, our client was interested in using personnel information, including photographs and job functions, etc. We managed to automate the content so that our client has zero-touch approach and making sure all that content is populated once the final output is produced. One of the facts that the client's team noticed was that by relaxing some of the programming standards, when I say this is, in other words, actually not over-engineering the Python scripts in these data blocks, they actually managed to get the content automated in a more efficient and an expedited manner. Of course, with Python, you have a whole lot of software engineering concepts that you can utilize, including object-oriented programming and functional programming and so on and so forth. And our data block layer does allow you to do that. But having said that, you also need to think about what is the value that you're bringing to the team within the least amount of time. For that purpose, we also advise our clients, while it is advisable to have centralized functions and it's very attractive concept, you also need to think about how much value you're bringing with such a concept. So we advise our clients to relax these standardization concepts and try to focus more on getting the scripts out and focus more on the basics of Python and think of it as a very basic scripting language to get these reports automated. And the outcome of that was actually this made sure there are less dependencies on centralized functions or custom Python libraries, and which made it possible for the client to leave room for future enhancements without having to be overly concerned about affecting multiple outputs. Having said that, they also realized some of the content that they automated for fact sheets can also be now reused in other outputs that they intended to automate with Asset. After the conclusion of their first phase, reusability of the components allowed the client to automate the other materials through our platform in a very timely manner. That's all actually what I wanted to present about this particular case study. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have and follow up with anything that I miss within this presentation. And yeah, I'll hand it over to Pete.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Manisha.
much.
All right, so we wanted to take this time to open it up to some Q&A. Let me just check out what we got here. One of the questions that we wanted to ask, and I'll open this up to either Anthony or Manisha, whoever feels so inclined, but what would you say the biggest mistake firms are making regarding their use of data?
I'll start. I mean, there's usually a plethora of opportunities with respect to data. And a lot of people usually suffer from a lot of symptoms. One of the big root causes for some of their symptoms is often ownership gaps, particularly on, let's say the sales and marketing side of the fence. I think the operations side of the fence, there's a long history of people being very data savvy and people understanding the importance of data and understanding the required precision of data that's necessary for things like straight-through processing. On the sales and marketing side of the fence, I think there's less recognition of that, and I think that the industry is sort of evolving and growing up and still adapting to that new normal. And what we often see is a problem of leadership kind of stepping up and taking that responsibility and taking that lead. And that's unfortunately a common theme. Data quality is another kind of related theme. I think that we need to see things like some owner or someone with authority and accountability needs to define what quality means. You need to have a capability to actually measure it. You need to be able to have some sort of workflow to actually clean it up and hold people accountable. And that's, quite frankly, a relatively emerging capability, or at least a discrete capability that's in the marketplace now. But there are actually some really cool tools out there, and at the very least, you need to have a good workflow for that. And you should have heard as well, one of my common complaints is, too much tactical, not enough strategic thinking. I think it's been particularly the digital engagement rush. It's been really interesting to see people, try to go after these new things. The marketing automation, the sales enablement, things of that nature. But unfortunately, they're again, this produced things like the silos and complexity and didn't lead to as much reusability, and they struggle with trying to connect all these data things all together and be able to look at data holistically. So for example, you've got information in seismic about what people are looking at, and you need to be able to blend that in with, let's say, your CRM data so that you can give that intelligence to the appropriate salespeople, for example. And anyway, so having a strategy there is or lack of a strategy, I think, is a big mistake. And finally, on the IT side of the fence, I think that there's really is a mindset shift that has to happen. And some firms have done this, and some firms are still, I think, struggling and behind. Moving and pushing towards these notions of things like self-service and really empowering business users and to be able to do things on their own is really a traditional or really a break from some of the traditional IT models that a lot of folks have grown up with. But really, it's the way of the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Another one we have here is, I think, similar to what you were saying at the end there, but what do you see the role of data? Maybe it's GPTs, maybe it's, AI ML. How do you see that evolving in the support of asset management teams over the next couple of years? Do you see rapid shifts? Do you think it's more slow? What are you seeing out there?
Well, obviously, we're seeing a lot of strategic investment in those areas in the last bunch of years. Um, Clearly recognition that it's so critically important. At a high level, some of the themes I talked about earlier, right? IT departments in particular are really needing to pick their battles, and so things like more SaaS and less, I'd say, direct ownership and more indirect ownership, because it's the only way to scale. You want to be able to go after sort of new things, and if you try and do everything yourself, you just can't. And so, leveraging again SaaS options out there, new and new emerging solutions, and being able to, moving your data to the cloud, for example, so that you can take advantage of these new solutions. That's, a top thing that people are focused on. Obviously, the self-service and empowerment is another big thing, and of course, I alluded to earlier, more AI. I think I was a little shocked at. I thought last year would be kind of a bigger AI year than it was.
Interesting.
I thought that with 2023 and the emergence of ChatGPT and the buzz in the boardroom with, you know, gee, where's my AI projects in the 2024 budget? I was surprised when I was at a conference in 2024 last year, and AI was like, I don't know, not in the top three. It was in the top 10, but a lot closer to the end. And what was at the top three, maybe two, um, was data quality. And, clearly, I think a lot of people recognize that the success of their AI initiatives are a function of data quality. And, it's sort of the old garbage in, garbage out, concern.
Right.
And anyway, but clearly, that is a top concern for folks. And so, I think it's easy to say, hey, data is important. It's quite frankly, it's easy to be awash in data in general. Data is not scarce, it is abundant. The trick, though, is to be able to make sure that that data is trustworthy and modeled in a way that makes sense and is actionable and usable. And and so that is something that will be a never-ending battle, quite frankly. And because I think that the data growth is only, you know, continuing to grow. And so the struggle to tame it, to tame that data beast is an ongoing battle.
Absolutely. Yeah, if there are any other questions out there, feel free to put them in the Q&A or in the chat. One thing I've just realized that I forgot to do in the course of this presentation is I had prepared some polling. I'm going to throw one out there now as we wait for some questions to trickle in. Anthony, you mentioned the prevalence of people, working on their data warehouse. Maybe they're in process, maybe it's on the radar. One of the questions we were curious was, would you say that your warehouse is perfectly curated? Are you moving in that direction? Is that not a priority? We were just curious to see where people came down on that one. Looks like a overwhelming majority is it's in the works, so that's encouraging. That sort of speaks to what you were saying. Oh, you're on mute, Anthony.
Sorry. It's
That's
one of
okay.
those things like compliance. I think
Right.
you're never done.
Yeah.
Um, you, and I think that's one of the reasons why we always talk about it being a journey.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but you could be further along in your journey, or you can be, still starting out in your journey.
Right. Interesting that there are 0 yeses. That's I thought for sure we'd get one, but that's interesting.
Pessimistic crowd.
Right. That's all right. Realism is all right. Uh, this is another one. I would preface this by saying if you're a consulting firm, maybe this isn't as pertinent for you. But we were curious. Did I launch that? What your Python usage looks like? Do you have team members that are using Python? Is that something that is interesting to your data or IT team, maybe your marketing and client team? It's certainly something, I'm obviously a marketing person. It's something that I'm becoming more familiar with, especially here with people like Manisha to coach on things like Python and PyCharm and all of those things. Uh, kind of curious to see if anyone is coming down on that, although I suspect
I don't see that poll coming up. Did you push it?
I thought I did, but let me try again. It says it's launched. Hmm, interesting.
Pete, I think there's a question.
Oh, yeah, thank you. We have a question, an anonymous attendee. Um, I think this is more for Manisha. What would you say is a differentiator compared to the big guy? The elephant in the room is obviously seismic, but there are solutions out there like FactSet, Kurtosis, and many others. Um, what would you say sets us aside?
Yeah, so I think the main point is about how we deal with data. So as Anthony mentioned, we don't actually have a proprietary reporting module or like some language that you have to learn. It's all about using Office components such as PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and automating your content through that. And we do offer, in addition to some typical PowerPoint outputs such as pitch books, fact sheets, client presentations, client reports. We also allow our clients to automate things such as DDQs, which might appear in Excel format. And we also support generation of commentary and some modules that are coming up. And we also have integrations to OpenAI via Microsoft Azure, which does natural language generation in certain aspects. But having said all that, I think the key differentiator actually comes down to data and how our clients can actually integrate their data sources in a more live stream rather, because we can integrate with APIs, Snowflake. You don't actually have to wait until your data warehouse is finalized. No matter where your data is coming from, our platform is able to connect to it and then get those reports automated. But I think that's where we actually add a significant amount of value compared to our competitors. Pete,
Right.
do you have anything to add there? Or?
No, I think that's really it. I think our emphasis on data, meeting people where they are in terms of that journey. A lot of people have it in the works, right? And that's a common theme. And I think a lot of our ideology is sort of based on that, right? How do you derive value today and not 3 years from now or whatever it might be? So yeah, no, I think that's dead on. I did figure out that poll about Python. I'm very pleased that someone enjoys my terrible sense of humor with a pet-free work environment. One person is anti-Python, so that's great. Someone gets me. Almost 70% of people say yes, their firms do have people proficient in Python. That's a bigger number than I expected. Of course, Manisha, you're actually with the clients. Is that sort of representative of what you would say when you're doing an implementation or doing an ACE training or something like that?
Yeah, I think I mean at this time, like even school children knows Python, like
Right.
Well,
now you're making me feel bad.
No, it's not like saying that. It's just that even from high school or even lower, I think they're getting some training with Python, and that's going to be something that is commonly known. So I expect there to be high Python literacy in the coming years.
Absolutely. We've got another question, actually. It says, have we worked with any clients that are using the new Ridgeline system, combined portfolio accounting and OMS? I cannot speak intelligently to that, so I'm going to see if Manisha or Anthony have one for that.
I don't think we have come across. Anthony, have you worked any?
I know we're talking about it. I don't have firsthand knowledge of that particular combination, but I do know that we're talking about it. I think that the Ridgeline solution has some, reporting capability, but I don't think it's quite the same level as what you could get out of a set. And so the idea of being able to have a tool like in a set and what's the word? Kind of connect it to the data that you've got is a good combination, I think. It definitely has promise.
Right. All right. Well, if anyone else has a question for Anthony or Manisha, we can hang out for a minute. Obviously want to be respectful of time. It's getting near lunchtime where we are, so I can understand people getting eager to head out into the tundra that is downtown Boston. All right. Well, if there are no further questions, I would say, thanks again to Anthony and Manisha for your help today. Anthony, the support of you and Olmsted has been very appreciated. We're glad to do this project with you. Again, for people that are not familiar with Olmsted, they specialize in helping investment firms like yours wrangle their data and get the most out of it. You can follow them on LinkedIn at Olmsted Associates. You can meet Anthony at LinkedIn /Anthony Whitford, as you might suspect. If you thought today's talk was helpful, make sure you check out the Asset page. We're planning on a lot more of these webinars and events where we'll share client stories and deeper dives into how data affects the front and back office. So keep an eye out for those. And of course, we're right in Faneuil Hall here in Boston. So if you're in the neighborhood, we'd love to meet up for lunch, drinks, have a chat. So if there are no further questions, let me just poke here. No, it looks like that's about it. Well, again, thank you to everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Like I mentioned before, I'll be sharing this recording afterwards, so expect that from me. And thanks very much for joining us. I appreciate your time today.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.